Welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're really taking a deep dive, into the life and work of Paul Graham
Yeah.
and using his essay, what I worked on.
A fascinating essay.
It is really fascinating. It takes us from, early programming, you know, clunky IBM mainframes
Right.
to the founding of billion-dollar company. So,
Yeah, you might be thinking, okay, another tech founder story,
right.
but this one is really different.
It really is. It's not just him listing off his accomplishments. It's like
No.
uncovering these underlying patterns.
It's about the decisions that shaped his path.
Yeah,
Really interesting insights that can help anyone.
absolutely. And in any field, too.
Exactly. It's about identifying opportunities and understanding what creates lasting value.
Oh, exactly. And we'll uncover how a fascination with philosophy led him to AI, and then how limitations of AI in the 80s
This is interesting.
pushed him towards art.
Yeah, who does that?
I know. It's fascinating.
Well, Graham did.
He did.
And it wasn't a distraction at all. It was
Yeah.
key to his journey.
Yeah.
It shaped his thinking about creativity value and the importance of pursuing what fascinates you.
It's so interesting. Let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
Graham's early life sounds almost like a young tech prodigy. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't playing video games. He was in the basement of his school,
Yeah. Tinkering away.
tinkering with an IBM 1401.
Huge machines.
Yeah.
Huge. Massive room-sized computer.
Can you imagine?
It's a world away from our sleek laptops and
Oh, man.
smartphones today.
Totally. And he was drawn to both writing and programming.
From a young age, he was
Yeah.
writing short stories, admittedly terrible ones,
But still.
still there was this drive to create. And then he had that clunky IBM 1401. That's where he first experienced programming.
With Fortran.
Fortran.
Yeah, he paints such a vivid picture of those early days punch cards, the card reader, the printer.
That deafening printer.
I know it sounds archaic,
It does.
but you can feel his excitement.
Definitely that sense of discovery interacting with this powerful machine.
I love that. And he even recounts his first encounter with the infinite loop.
Of course, a classic rite of passage.
For any programmer.
Yeah. Imagine being a young kid
Oh,
and accidentally bringing a mainframe
to its knees.
to its knees.
He mentions the data center manager giving him the look.
If you know, you know.
Oh, I know that look. But then along comes the microcomputer.
Yes, a game changer.
Total game changer for young Paul.
The world of programming suddenly opened up in a new way.
Exactly. And he started writing simple games. A program to predict the flight of his model rockets.
Oh, wow.
Even a basic word processor that his father used to write a book.
That's amazing.
I know, from crashing mainframes to helping his dad write a book.
Great.
So you'd think with this passion for programming, he would just dive straight into computer science in college.
You would think so.
Right.
But no.
Fine.
He initially sets his sights on philosophy.
Philosophy, yeah.
He was driven by a desire to understand the big questions, you know.
The fundamental truths.
Yes, the fundamental truths.
But he quickly became disillusioned with academic philosophy.
It happened.
He felt it was too focused on these narrow arguments, and it lacked the grand scope he was hoping for.
Yeah, I can see that.
So this brings him to a pivotal moment, a turning point, really.
Yeah.
He decides to shift gears and delve into the world of artificial intelligence.
This is the mid-1980s.
Mid-1980s,
AI was still in its early stages.
full of promise and mystery.
Absolutely.
What drew him to this field?
Well, two things in particular sparked his interest.
Okay.
First, there was Heinlein's classic sci-fi novel, The Moon is a Harsh Mistress,
Of course.
which features an intelligent computer named Mike.
Right.
It captures the imagination
It does.
and hints at the transformative potential of AI.
And it's a theme that resonates throughout his life.
Isn't it?
Yes, that blurring of the line between fiction and reality.
Yes.
What we can imagine and what we can create with technology.
Exactly.
And the second influence was a documentary
Oh, really?
about Terry Winograd's SHRDLU program,
Okay.
an early natural language understanding system that showed the possibility of computers interacting with humans in a more intuitive way.
Yeah, very cool.
So his imagination is fired up by science fiction and then grounded in the real-world possibilities of AI research.
A perfect blend of inspiration and practicality.
It really is.
And this is where he encounters Lisp,
Lisp.
a programming language renowned for its power and flexibility.
Okay.
It was considered the language of AI.
Lisp I've heard the name, but I'll admit I'm not entirely familiar with it.
Okay.
What's so special about this language?
Well, in the world of programming languages, Lisp is somewhat unique.
Okay.
It's known for its elegance,
Mm.
its ability to express complex ideas concisely and powerfully.
So give me an analogy.
Okay, think of it like the difference between writing a novel in plain language versus using a nuanced, expressive form of poetry.
Okay, I see.
Lisp offered Graham a new way of thinking about programming,
Okay.
a way to build more sophisticated and adaptable systems.
So it's not just a tool. It's almost like a new way of thinking, a new lens
Yeah.
through which to view the world of programming.
Exactly.
Okay.
And his deep dive into Lisp wasn't just a passing interest. He became so enamored with the language that he wrote his first book on Lisp
While still in grad school.
while still in grad school.
Talk about dedication.
I know.
But even with his growing passion for Lisp and AI,
Right.
he still had this feeling that something was missing.
What do you mean?
He was looking for something more, something that would endure,
Okay.
something that wouldn't become obsolete like the software he was writing.
Interesting.
This is where his path takes an unexpected turn,
Okay.
leading him into the world of art.
While pursuing a PhD in computer science.
While pursuing a PhD.
Amazing.
We have a computer scientist deeply immersed in AI and Lisp, suddenly deciding to become an artist.
It's like he's always searching for new challenges.
Yeah, new ways to express his creativity.
Right, and it wasn't just a whim.
Oh, no.
He was very serious about art.
Yeah?
He was searching for something that would stand the test of time.
Something lasting.
Yes, something that wouldn't fade away like lines of code.
I see.
He saw art, particularly painting,
Uh-huh.
as a way to create something truly lasting.
Okay, so what kind of art was he into?
Interestingly enough, he was drawn to still life painting.
Still life.
I know it's a bit unexpected, but for Graham, it was about the challenge of capturing the intricate details of visual perception,
Okay.
the subtle interplay of light, shadow, and form.
That's fascinating.
It is. It's like he was taking his analytical mind.
The same mind that dissects complex algorithms and
Right,
applying
well-
it to art.
Exactly.
He even talks about how still life painting
Yes.
allows you to create something more real than a photograph.
More real than a photograph.
Yeah.
How so?
He argues that when you paint a still life, you're not just copying what you see. You're selectively emphasizing certain visual cues, guiding the viewer's eye
Okay.
and helping them understand the scene more deeply.
So it's a deliberate act of creation.
Not just replication.
I like that.
It really changes how you view something as simple as a bowl of fruit.
Or a vase of flowers.
Yeah, there's a depth and intentionality that we often overlook.
It's true.
But despite his growing love for art,
Right.
Graham was also a pragmatist.
Okay.
He recognized the financial challenges of being an artist,
Of course.
especially in a competitive field like painting.
Yeah.
He knew he needed to find a balance.
Between passion and practicality.
Exactly, and this is where his path takes another interesting turn,
Okay.
leading him back to the world of technology, but with a new purpose,
A new purpose.
to build a business.
I built up a business.
And that business, as many of you probably know, would become VioWeb.
Fiverr, one of the first e-commerce platforms.
It's remarkable how his seemingly different interests, art and technology, start to converge.
It's a testament to his ability to connect those unrelated ideas,
Yeah,
to see patterns and opportunities that others miss.
totally. And as we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive, this ability would be crucial to VioWeb's success and his future endeavors.
I can't wait to hear more.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Welcome back to the deep dive.
Glad to be back.
When we left off, we were talking about Paul Graham's decision.
To merge his artistic and technical sides.
Exactly, to create VioWeb.
One of the first e-commerce platforms.
But as anyone who has started a business knows,
Yeah.
the path to success is rarely a straight line.
It's rarely a straight line, that's for sure.
So true. Building a company, especially in those early days of the internet,
Right.
was a wild ride.
This is the mid-90s,
Mid-90s,
the dot-com bubble,
the inflating,
and the rules of the game were still being written.
like the Wild West of tech.
Exactly.
So how did Graham navigate this unpredictable landscape?
Well, he started with an idea that
Okay.
might seem a bit off target in hindsight. He wanted to create a platform for putting art galleries online.
Virtual galleries.
Right, where people could browse and purchase art from anywhere.
That actually sounds like a pretty cool idea,
It does.
especially now with the rise of online art marketplaces.
Yeah.
Why didn't it take off?
Timing is everything.
Oh,
Back then, most art galleries,
especially those prestigious ones?
yeah, they were interested in having an online presence.
Oh, yeah.
Their business model relied on those personal connections and exclusivity of a physical space.
It was a tough lesson for Graham to learn.
A tough lesson, but a valuable one.
So what did he do? Give up on the whole business idea?
Not a chance. Graham is persistent.
He is.
He realized the software he'd developed for these online galleries
Okay.
could be adapted for something much broader.
Broader like what?
Online storefronts for any type of business.
So this is before Shopify, before Squarespace.
Way before.
He was a pioneer.
He was.
So this is where ViaWeb is born.
This is it.
He teams up with Robert Morris,
His friend from college.
and they set out to build this revolutionary platform.
It was revolutionary.
What were some of the key decisions they made early on?
That contributed to their success?
Yeah, that contributed to their success.
One crucial decision, and this was a game changer,
Okay.
was to run the software on the server
Okay.
and allow users to control it through their web browsers.
This was the birth of web applications.
Exactly.
Can you explain that a bit more?
Sure.
For those of us who aren't programmers,
Of course.
why was that such a big deal?
Back then, software was typically installed and run locally on individual computers.
Okay.
It was clunky,
Ah.
it was difficult to update,
Right.
and compatibility was a nightmare. LeoWeb's approach was revolutionary.
How so?
Users wouldn't need to download or install anything.
Yeah.
They could access and manage their online stores from anywhere.
With an internet connection.
Exactly. A huge leap forward in accessibility and ease of use.
It's amazing how something that seems so obvious now
I-
was such a radical departure back then.
It really was.
But even with this groundbreaking technology,
Mm-hmm.
I imagine there were still plenty of challenges in those early days of e-commerce.
Oh, absolutely.
Like what?
Convincing businesses to embrace this whole idea of selling online.
Yeah, that was still uncharted territory.
It was.
And many were hesitant to invest in something so new.
So untested.
So how do they overcome that resistance?
Well, it wasn't so much a secret sauce
Huh?
as it was a willingness to roll up their sleeves and
True.
do things that didn't scale.
Do things that didn't scale
Yeah, in the early stages, they actually built online stores for their users,
manually?
painstakingly.
That sounds incredibly time-consuming.
It was.
Why would they do that?
It was all about understanding their users' needs and pain points.
Okay.
By building stores themselves, they gained invaluable insights.
Into what worked and what didn't?
Exactly, and what features were most important.
It was a hands-on approach.
That allowed them to iterate quickly and refine their product based on real-world feedback.
It's a great lesson for any aspiring entrepreneur.
Isn't it?
Sometimes you have to get your hands dirty
Do the unglamorous work.
to truly understand your market.
Exactly.
It's not always about scaling quickly.
Right.
It's about building something that genuinely solves a problem.
That's it.
And for ViaWeb, this approach paid off.
It did.
They were gaining traction,
Signing up new customers.
proving that e-commerce was more than just a passing fad.
It was here to stay.
But as with any startup,
Especially in that volatile world of the dot-com bubble.
challenges were always lurking.
Always.
Speaking of challenges, I remember Graham talking about a crucial mistake he made early on,
Oh, yeah.
focusing too much on the absolute number of users
Okay.
instead of the growth rate.
The growth rate?
Why is growth rate so important? Especially for startups.
It's a classic trap.
What is it?
Focusing on the wrong metrics.
Okay.
Founders get caught up in vanity metrics like the total number of users or downloads. Right.
And lose sight of the bigger picture.
The sustainability of their growth trajectory.
Yes, a healthy growth rate indicates that your product or service is gaining traction.
It's resonating with the market.
It is.
So it's not just about having a lot of users.
No.
It's about having a user base that's expanding.
At a rate that indicates long-term viability.
Exactly. And Graham admits he learned this lesson the hard way.
He did.
He even confesses to hiring too many people,
Too many people.
partly due to pressure from investors.
Ah, the pressure.
And partly because it was the in thing to do during the dot-com boom.
Everyone was doing it.
It's easy to get swept up in the hype.
Especially when there's so much money flowing around.
It's a reminder that founders need to stay focused on their core vision.
Even when external pressures are pushing them in different directions.
Sometimes a lean team
Focused on building a great product.
and achieving sustainable growth.
Is more valuable than a bloated organization chasing trends.
Absolutely. And amidst all this chaos.
All this pressure to grow and scale comes a life-changing event.
What's that?
ViaWeb is acquired by Yahoo
Oh.
in the summer of 1998,
A massive deal.
a validation of all their hard work.
Years of effort.
But I imagine it was also a bittersweet moment.
It certainly was.
On the one hand,
Financial security.
relief after years of intense effort
But on the other hand, it meant giving up control.
of their creation
Their baby.
and integrating into a larger corporate culture.
Quite a shift.
It must have been a difficult transition
It was.
for someone like Graham
Who thrives on independence.
and creative freedom.
He describes feeling burned out.
From the startup grind,
The transition to Yahoo's environment
with its cubicles,
and established routines
there's a stark contrast.
to that dynamic freewheeling world he was used to.
So what did he do?
Well, he stayed at Yahoo for about a year,
Okay.
long enough to see his options vest
Uh-huh.
and achieve financial independence,
Then, true to his word, he left.
to pursue his other passion,
The one he had put on hold while building ViaWeb?
painting.
He finally had the freedom to do what he had always dreamed of.
It must have felt liberating.
It must have.
He even bought a yellow VW GTI with leather seats,
Oh, wow.
a symbol of his newfound freedom.
A far cry from his grad student lifestyle.
It was,
He moved back to New York
hoping to rekindle that artistic spark.
in a familiar environment.
But as we'll discover in the next part of our deep dive,
Uh-huh.
things didn't go quite as planned.
So we're back on the deep dive. And last we left off, Paul Graham had achieved this level of financial freedom that allowed him to step away from the tech world
Yeah.
and pursue his long-held passion for painting.
It sounds like the perfect ending.
Right.
The tech entrepreneur gets to follow his artistic dreams.
But life rarely follows such neat, predictable narratives.
So true, Graham's journey is full of twists and turns, these unexpected detours.
That lead to new discoveries and insights.
Yeah, and his return to painting is a prime example of that.
So what happened? Did he find that artistic fulfillment?
Well, not exactly. Despite his initial excitement, he was lacking the energy and drive to paint.
It's understandable.
The years of building ViaWeb had taken their toll.
Yeah.
He was burned out, creatively depleted.
It makes you wonder if you can really just switch gears like that.
Yeah.
Go from the high-stakes world of startups to the quiet contemplation of an artist's studio.
It's a fascinating question.
It is, and I think Graham's experience highlights the complexity of those transitions.
We often romanticize the idea of pursuing our passions,
We do.
but sometimes those passions need time to reemerge.
To be nurtured back to life.
Exactly.
So what did he do? Did he give up on art completely?
Not completely. He kept exploring, kept searching.
For that spark?
Yes. He even tried a new style of still life painting,
Uh-huh.
but it wasn't quite there.
It's a reminder that success in one area of life,
It doesn't automatically translate to another.
each pursuit requires its own skills, its own motivations.
And most importantly, its own passion.
Absolutely. And sometimes it takes trial and error.
To rediscover that passion.
To figure out what ignites your creative fire.
It does.
So if painting wasn't the answer, what was?
Yeah.
Where did this detour lead him?
It led him back to the world of ideas, to that realm where technology and creativity intersect,
He started reflecting on his experiences with ViaWeb.
especially their revolutionary approach with web applications.
Remember, they were pioneers in running software on the server.
Right, and letting users control it through their browsers.
It was a game changer for e-commerce.
It was, but Graham started to see the potential beyond online stores.
He envisioned a platform where anyone could build and host web applications
Entirely online.
without the need for complex infrastructure.
Or specialized knowledge.
This vision anticipated the rise of cloud computing.
And the democratization of software development.
He was once again ahead of his time.
He often was seeing the possibilities before they were widely apparent.
This new vision gave him a renewed sense of purpose.
It did. He moved back to Cambridge
Okay.
and assembled a small team,
To work on this ambitious project.
which he called Aspera.
Aspera, another intriguing name.
It is, and as part of this project, they developed a new dialect of Lisp,
Called ARC.
ARC, as the underlying language for their applications.
It seems his love for Lisp never truly faded.
It's a testament to the power of an elegant and expressive language.
For Graham, Lisp wasn't just a tool.
Right.
It was a way of thinking.
A way of structuring ideas.
But as the project progressed,
Yeah.
Graham realized he didn't want to build another large company.
He'd already achieved financial independence.
He wasn't driven by wealth anymore.
So what happened to Aspera?
Did he abandon it?
He scaled back his ambitions
Okay.
and focused on developing ARC as an open source project.
Interesting. A decision that reflects his evolving priorities
And his growing interest in sharing his knowledge.
with the wider programming community.
Exactly. He wanted to empower others.
To build and create.
Not just build another empire for himself.
It's a generous and unexpected move.
Most entrepreneurs are driven by building something big.
Something that bears their name and legacy.
But Graham seems driven by a different set of motivations.
He's more interested in exploring ideas.
Pushing the boundaries.
And sharing those discoveries.
Exactly. And the work he did on Aspera wasn't wasted.
No.
It gave him valuable insights.
Into the emerging world of web application development.
Insights that would prove useful in his next venture.
And that next venture was Y Combinator.
Arguably one of Graham's most impactful creations.
It shaped the world of startups as we know it.
It really has.
Y Combinator, or YC as it's often called,
Right.
emerged organically from conversations, observations, and a bit of serendipity.
It wasn't a grand, preconceived plan.
More like a series of happy accidents.
That led to something transformative.
It's fascinating how some of the most impactful innovations
Often emerge from these random connections and detours.
So how did YC come about? What was the spark?
It started with a dinner party.
Okay.
Where Graham met Jessica Livingston.
His future wife.
Yes, and co-founder of YC.
And Jessica was working in finance at the time.
She was, but she was fascinated by Graham's stories about startups.
She even planned to write a book.
About the experiences of his entrepreneur friends.
She was already drawn to this world.
To the energy and innovation.
And as she learned more about starting a company,
she started to question the traditional venture capital model.
Okay.
It seemed too focused on later stage investments.
On companies that had already proven themselves?
Right. She felt there was a gap.
A need for a different approach.
That would support founders in the earliest stages.
And Graham, meanwhile, was also starting to feel the pull back towards the startup world.
But not as a founder.
He wanted to help other founders.
Avoid the pitfalls he'd encountered.
And build successful companies.
It's like their interests and experiences perfectly complemented each other.
They saw an opportunity to create something new.
Something that would disrupt the norms of venture capital.
And empower a new generation of entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
And so YC was born.
A bold experiment.
A departure from the conventional wisdom.
Of how startups should be funded and mentored.
And one of the most distinctive features of YC
is the batch model.
Where they fund a group of startups all at once.
Twice a year.
How did that model come about?
It was born out of their own inexperience as investors. They wanted to gain experience quickly and thought funding a bunch of startups at the same time would be the best way to learn.
They even envisioned it as a summer program for undergrads.
Like an internship for aspiring entrepreneurs.
It sounds almost like an academic approach to venture capital.
Learn by doing.
Experiment. Iterate.
Exactly. But as they started receiving applications,
they
realized this was no summer fling.
They were attracting serious founders.
With promising ideas.
People willing to take a leap of faith.
And join this unconventional program.
And that first batch was truly remarkable.
It was startups like Reddit.
Justin.tv, which became Twitch.
And even Sam Altman, who would later lead YC.
Talk about a successful experiment.
It was a testament to their ability to identify and support talented founders.
And the batch model had unexpected benefits.
For the startups themselves.
How so?
It created a sense of community.
Where founders could connect.
Learn from each other.
Support each other.
They weren't isolated anymore.
Tackling the challenges alone.
They were part of a cohort.
A tribe of like-minded individuals.
Yes, and as YC grew,
that community became one of its greatest strengths.
The alumni network became an invaluable resource.
For founders at all stages.
It did.
But YC wasn't just about funding and mentorship.
Right.
Graham also created Hacker News.
Or HNChan.
A news aggregator and forum.
That became a central hub for the tech community.
It was initially a resource for founders.
But it quickly evolved into something much broader.
HN became a platform for discussing ideas.
Sharing news.
Engaging in debates.
About technology, entrepreneurship, the future.
It fostered a culture of intellectual curiosity.
And open dialogue.
A space where anyone could contribute.
Regardless of background or credentials.
It's a testament to Graham's belief in open communication.
And the value of diverse perspectives.
But as YC and HN grew,
so did the demands on Graham's time.
He was increasingly drawn into the day-to-day operations.
Leaving less time for his passions.
That balance between building something great
and preserving your own creative freedom.
It's a struggle many entrepreneurs face.
It is. You get caught up in the momentum of growth.
Consumed by the demands of building an empire.
And you lose sight of what truly matters.
So what did Graham do? How did he navigate this?
His friend and former ViaWeb co-founder Robert Morris
Okay.
offered some sage advice.
What was it?
He said, you should make sure Y Combinator isn't the last cool thing you do.
Wow, what a powerful statement.
It is a reminder that success isn't a destination.
It's a journey.
And we get to define what cool means.
Identify those pursuits that ignite our passion.
Exactly, and those words resonated with Graham.
He realized he needed to create space for new adventures.
New explorations.
And in 2014, he handed over the reins of YC to Sam Altman.
Ensuring it would thrive.
Under new leadership.
It was a selfless act.
A recognition that sometimes the best way to nurture something
is to let it go.
Allow it to evolve under the guidance of others.
It's a powerful lesson in letting go.
Trusting others to carry the torch.
And continue the journey.
So what did Graham do with his freedom?
He initially revisited painting,
hoping to reconnect with that artistic passion.
But he soon realized it no longer held the same allure.
His interests had shifted.
And he was drawn back to programming and ideas.
He was constantly evolving.
Seeking new challenges.
New ways to express his creativity.
A true lifelong learner.
He resumed writing essays.
Exploring all sorts of topics.
From technology and startups.
To philosophy.
And the future of work.
He even dove back into Lisp.
The language that had captivated him in college.
He embarked on a project to create a new dialect.
Called Bell.
Based on John McCarthy's original approach.
It sounds like he was driven by a pure love of learning.
And desire to push his own understanding.
It's a reminder that the pursuit of knowledge and creation is a lifelong journey.
There's no one right path.
The most rewarding experiences often come from unexpected detours and discoveries.
Paul Graham's story is an inspiration.
A testament to the power of curiosity, adaptability, and that relentless pursuit of what fascinates you.
So what will you work on next?